Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, all my brothers and sisters are well. Please don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. And of course, hit that bell notification button so that you are informed of the latest videos that have been uploaded. Jazakallah khairan. Now, a lot of people might be surprised by what they're hearing about Prince Harry of the United Kingdom and Meghan Markle and their explosive revelations to the doyenne of talk shows Oprah Winfrey, particularly the racism faced by the mixed-race former American actress Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, when she had been pregnant with son Archie, apparently someone senior among the British royals. Get this, in the 21st century post-George Floyd raised concerns about the skin colour of the child Meghan was then pregnant with. Oh boy. And the person wasn't curious that he might be ginger, let's just put it that way. Some say it was the second in line to the throne, Prince William. Some say it was the first in line to the throne, Prince Charles. Either way, the identity is anonymous at the moment. It's mere speculation, and it's causing a lot of rumours. But when it comes out, and I'm sure it will, it's going to be massive. Actually, it's pretty massive already. It's huge. But anyway, who's actually surprised by all this? I'm not, frankly. Anyone who's black, brown, Muslim is definitely not. On top of all the colonialism, genocide, empiring, exploitation, looting, undeniable facts, which we are all supposed to just forget and sweep under the Persian rug just because they fought the Nazis. Who remembers the story of the Muslim Indian Munshi Abdul Karim, the cook/attendant who in the last 14 years of her life scandalously got a little too close to the Empress of India, Queen Victoria, for comfort? I think they made a film about it. You probably have watched it. All you have to do is look at the story of the Muslim Abdul Karim Munshi to know what this royal epitome of civilization and class family is capable of. And with this new chapter with Harry and Meghan, we see that despite 100 years of social and political progress, very little has changed when it comes to this family. So let's dive in. Born in 1863, Karim was born the son of Haji Muhammad Waziruddin, who was stationed with the Central Indian Horse, a British cavalry regiment hospital assistant near Jhansi in British India. In 1887, the year of Victoria's Golden Jubilee, Karim was one of two Indians selected to become servants to the Queen. Karim was hastily coached in British manners and in the English language and sent to England along with Muhammad Baksh. Victoria will come to like him a great deal and give him the title of Munshi, which means clerk or teacher. Victoria will also appoint him to be her Indian secretary, will shower him with honours and gifts, and obtain a land grant for him in India. It was a platonic relationship, and she would come to love him like a mother. It was initially planned that the two Indian men would wait at table and learn to do other tasks, basically like a servant. But Karim will impress the monarch by cooking her things like chicken curry with dal and pilau. According to Victoria biographer A.N. Wilson, the Queen enjoyed the dish so much that she incorporated it into her regular meal rotation. She became more and more interested in his culture and asked Karim to teach her Urdu, then known as Hindustani. She would eventually sign off her letters in Urdu. That's quite impressive, right? The Queen will describe Karim thus after meeting him for the first time in her diary, quote, "The other, much younger, is much lighter than Baksh, tall, and with a fine, serious countenance. His father is a native doctor at Agra. They both kissed my feet." End quote. Queen Victoria. So, Karim was teaching her Urdu. He was also educating her in respect of the Quran, teaching her Quran. Her discussions with the Munshi were wide-ranging, in fact. They were philosophical, they were about politics, they were about other practical stuff. Quote, "Both head and heart were engaged," wrote the Queen. So, very swiftly, by August 1888, he was promoted to the position of Munshi. Victoria praised him in her letters and journal, quote, "I am so very fond of him," she wrote. "He is so good and gentle and understanding. All I want, and is a real comfort to me." She admired her personal Indian clerk and Munshi, who is an excellent, clever, truly pious, and very refined gentleman who says, "God ordered it. God's orders is what they implicitly obey. Such faith as theirs and such conscientiousness set us a great example." End quote. But Karim's swift rise to power began to create jealousy and discontent among the members of the royal household, who would normally never mingle socially with Indians below the rank of prince. Remember, this was when India was part of the British Raj, but the Queen expected them to welcome Karim, an Indian of ordinary origin, into their midst, but they were not willing to do so. Does it ring any bells? Victoria biographer Carolee Erickson described the situation. The rapid advancement and personal arrogance of the Munshi would inevitably have led to his unpopularity, but the fact of his race made all emotions run hotter against him. Racialism was a scourge of the age. It went hand in hand with the belief in the appropriateness of Britain's global dominion. For a dark-skinned Indian to be put very nearly on a level with the Queen's white servants was all but intolerable. For him to eat at the same table as them, to share in their daily lives, was viewed as an outrage. Yet the Queen was determined to impose harmony on her household. Race hatred was intolerable to her, and the dear good Munshi, deserving of nothing but respect. Aide-de-camp Frederic wrote to Elgin in January 1895 that Karim was deeply unpopular in the household. Princesses Louise and Beatrice, Prince Henry of Battenberg, Prime Minister Lord Rosebery and Secretary of State for India Henry Fowler had all raised concerns about Karim with the Queen, who, quote, refused to listen to what they had to say, but was very angry. He continued, "So as you see, the Munshi is a sort of pet, like a dog or cat which the Queen will not willingly give up." End quote. March 1897, as members of the household prepared to depart for Khimies for the Queen's annual visit, they insisted that Karim not accompany the royal party and decided to resign if he did so. When Harriet Phipps, one of the Queen's maids of honour, informed her of the collective decision, the Queen swept the contents of her desk onto the floor in a fury. The household backed down, but the holiday was marred by incessant resentment and rows between the household and Victoria. She thought their distrust and dislike of Karim was motivated by, quote, race prejudice, end quote, and jealousy. Ah, there it is. Aide Ponsonby wrote in late April, quote, "The Munshi happens to be a thoroughly stupid and uneducated man, and his one idea in life seems to be to do nothing and to eat as much as he can." End quote. They were really going for him, weren't they? Reed warned the Queen that her attachment to Karim is really, really getting on their nerves. Attachment to Karim had led to questions about her sanity, so they were actually questioning the sanity of the Queen of England because she was being nice to and not being racist to an Indian. And Hamilton telegraphed to Elgin in India requesting information on the Munshi and his family in an effort to discredit him. They did actually scour the whole of India to look for dirt against the Munshi, to use against him, to discredit him and so forth, but they found nothing. He was just a humble family living in India doing nothing wrong. So that plan sort of backfired. As you can imagine, with all this going on and much more, the aging Queen did not trust her relatives at all, and the royal household to look after her beloved Munshi after she was gone, and so sought to rescue his future. So on 11th of July, she wrote to Lansdowne and the Secretary of State for India, Lord Cross, for, quote, a grant of land to her really exemplary and excellent young Munshi, Hafiz Abdul Karim, end quote. She was really taken by him, wasn't she? Some kind of, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, maternal relationship, I guess. It was a very maternal relationship. I think it was just a maternal relationship, to be fair. I don't think that anything else was going on. I mean, she definitely likes him a lot. At one point, the Queen had Karim's portrait, I think there was a couple of occasions, but this is one occasion, painted by Heinrich von Angeli. According to the Queen, von Angeli, listen to this, was keen to paint Karim, as he had never painted an Indian before, and, quote, was so struck with his handsome face, wait for it, and colouring, end quote. Colouring, okay. For a second, I thought it would be a compliment. I mean, she did say he was handsome. I know. That's how people spoke then. Relax, I get it. In May 1892, when the Munshi returned after some leave from India with his wife and mother-in-law, Victoria wrote, quote, "The two Indian ladies, who are, I believe, the first Mohammedan Purda ladies who ever came over, keep their custom of complete seclusion and of being entirely covered when they go out, except for the holes for their eyes." So I'm guessing they were in niqab. Victoria visited regularly Prince Munshi's female relatives. One visitor, Marie Mallet, the Queen's maiden-waiting, recorded, quote, "I have just been to see the Munshi's wife, by royal command." She has to say that. "She is fat and not uncomely. A delicate shade of chocolate and gorgeously attired, rings on her fingers, rings on her nose. What is with these people and colour? They're obsessed. And now we see where it all comes from. I appreciate it's partly the times they lived in, but it's still so fascinating, isn't it? So, my brothers and sisters, let's put it all in context now. The relationship between Queen Victoria and her handsome young Indian attendant Abdul Karim was deemed so controversial and scandalous by her family members that, upon the monarch's death in 1901, they completely scrubbed out his existence from royal history. Totally. According to the Telegraph, Victoria's son Edward, now king, immediately demanded all letters between the two found on the royal premises be burned. The family evicted Karim. That's right, evicted Karim from the home the Queen had given him and deported him back to India. Victoria's daughter Beatrice erased all reference to Karim in the Queen's journals. Damn, which must have been a painstaking endeavour given Victoria's decade-plus relationship with the Karim, whom she considered her closest confidant. The royal family's eradication of Karim was so thorough that a full 100 years would pass before an eagle-eyed journalist noticed a strange clue left in Victoria's summer home, and her consequential investigation led to the discovery of Victoria's relationship with Karim. So the whole Karim saga was completely submerged and wiped out of history for over 100 years, and has only been recently rediscovered. That's quite amazing. I mean, even photographs of him waiting at table as a servant were destroyed, and of course he became the first Indian personnel clerk to the Queen. Anyway, according to historians today, Victoria's family and staff members exhibited, oh did they now, you think, prejudice of the racial and social variety? Oh, stop here, of course they didn't, which compounded with jealousy as Victoria became closer with Karim and afforded him privileges. Oh boy. They must have hated him completely. Historian Carolee Erickson in her Little Majesty, quote, "For a dark-skinned Indian to be put very nearly on a level with the Queen's white servants was all but intolerable for him. To eat at the same table with them, to share in their daily lives, was viewed as an outrage," end quote. How could he even have the gall to want to be on the same par as the Queen's white servants? Not the Queen, not the Queen's household, just the Queen's servants. No, he had to be below the Queen's servants. Anything else was just outrageous. You see what I'm saying here? This is the sort of stuff we're dealing with. And Queen Victoria herself believed it to be racism too. For example, her assistant private secretary, Fritz... What a name. Rather, Ponsonby. Oh, God. You only get to hear these names when you're in, I don't know, Mayfair or something. You know, you're dealing with the top-notch people. You're not going to come across these names unless you're going to, I don't know, Eton or something. Let's just put it that way. So, Fritz Ponsonby ended Fritz Ponce ended one of his letters by outlining Victoria's assessment. Quote, "The Queen says it is race prejudice and that we are jealous of the poor Munshi," end quote. Oh, God. Damn, the Queen's IQ must have been through the roof to be able to spot that sort of prejudice, see that sort of insidious, underhand prejudice happening right under her nose. Anyway, when it was all finally over, Lady Curzon, another name, Curzon, I don't know, wrote on 9th of August 1901, She wrote this: "Charlotte Knollys," okay, that's her friend, I think, "told me that the Munshi bogey, which had frightened all the household, so he was seen as the bogeyman in the castle at Windsor for many years, had proved a ridiculous farce, as the poor man had not only given up all his letters, but even the photos signed by Queen, and had returned to India like a whipped hound. All the Indian servants have gone back, so now there is no oriental picture and queerness at court." Look at the language this Curzon is using. I mean, it's so condescending. I mean, describing him as a whipped hound, which is a dog, a race dog. And all the Indian servants have gone back. There's no oriental picture and queerness at court. Queerness, oriental picture, it's just so, I don't know, it's just so out of touch. For today, it's out of touch. And you just see how they viewed people of other ethnic groups. They saw them as something weird, queer, oriental, others, different, not part of their sort of background. Karim subsequently lived quietly near Agra in India on the estate that Victoria had arranged for him until his death at the age of 46 in April 1909. So the guy didn't live that long. But the humiliation was not over. At his death, his house in India was searched again for any further correspondence to be also burned, but some survived in secret, only to be revealed in the year 2010. Indeed, he actually has a descendant presently. That's right, living in Leicester, UK, right now. Oh yes, no kidding. Not a direct one, because he didn't have any children himself, via a sibling, so great-great-great-nephew probably, and, he did have 2 wives, but he didn't have any children. What a fascinating story. That's why I love history. Here was a legit Muslim man, Allahu Alam, practiced polygamy, his wives wore niqab, an old school Muslim, clearly taught the Queen the Quran from a conquered race, away from home, a servant, really, outnumbered, outgunned in terms of wealth, class and race, outnumbered, as I think I said that, who through the magic of his own character and the way he carried himself, his trust and belief in Allah, had managed to not only take on the entire British establishment, but also impress and humble the most powerful person in the world then, Queen Victoria, whom, credit to her, didn't feel any prejudice against Abdul Karim whatsoever. The lady who ruled the world was ruled by our brown Karim, and this the royal family could not stomach. Yes, she was the colonial queen with blood and oppression on her hands, and we condemn that in the utmost terms. But only on that point, she did better than most. So all those people saying it was normal to be racist then, well, that clearly wasn't the case. That's a bit of a cop-out, don't you think? But he was still up against an institution, as Meghan Markle put it. The royal family is more than just one person. It's a white, blue-blooded tribe. A tribe built on centuries of bloodline, tradition, patronage, marriage, and conquest. But the inevitable happened. His greatest and only protector, really, gone. The writing was on the wall, and he was humiliated, stripped of all his assets, put in his rightful place. As Lady Curtson put it, whipped like a hound for being of an inferior race. And then, just to underline how sacrilegious it all was, they wiped him out of history altogether. Until very recently, when new material surfaced. So yeah, not surprised at all by the recent news regarding Meghan and Harry. It's what they do, I'm afraid. That's just how the firm has always operated historically, and it seems, it still does. I'm going to leave it there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.